So thank you, Shuo, for coming. We're going to split up this talk into three parts. The first on how has Shuo and Deel grown from an improbable company and improbable operator to Silicon Valley's most prolific, revenue-oriented founder. Second, the hidden systems that have really propelled Deel to success as a global company. And the third is transferable secrets that we can learn from the work. So I want to start somewhere a bit unexpected. Most people don't know Shuo's story. Before MIT and before Deel, there was a teenager who moved to Baltimore from China at the age of 16, not speaking a word of English, selling scooters at a flea market. And looking back, what did you learn about these early sales experiences moving from China and being in a new environment?
Thanks, Mene, for the introduction. I'm Shuo, co-founder and CRO of Deel. Deel is a global payroll and HR platform. We support companies to hire, pay, and manage workers across 160 different countries. We process $3 billion in payroll, pay 2 million people across the world, support 40,000 businesses every single month. So I was born in China. I moved to the States at the age of 16 to join my mom. And my mom ran a business that imports scooters and motorcycles from China and then does wholesale in the US from West Coast to East Coast. So when I first moved to the States, I did not speak a word of English. And then I had to help my mom because it's a small business and she needed help. So we set up a station in local flea market so that I can do some retail business and then I can support myself as well. But it is like, a popular station because even though I didn't really speak English, but the product itself. So that made me understand, sometimes marketing is not about hardcore or aggressive sales, but it is about product itself, it's about location, it's about the market, and it's about the audience that you're targeting.
That's a really good insight. Most people don't know that your first company wasn't actually Deel. It was a company called ARR, which was an air purifier hardware startup that you ran out of Beijing and Switzerland. And then you ended up getting acquired by iRobot. You went from robotics to hardware to global payroll, and these seem pretty unrelated as topics. What was the through line across all these businesses?
I think business category aside, right? So what inspired me the most is problems. What are the hard problems that I want to solve? What are the hard problems that is next coming up that can benefit the society and make a really large impact of the world, right? So at the time I built air purification systems is because the air quality in China was just really, really bad. People cannot go out and then the air quality, it is always off the chart. And I wanted to solve that problem, so I built a air purification system that is autonomously clean air and then deliver really high air quality for residence buildings or business buildings, right? So that benefits a lot of people in China. And after that, hardware is a really big business, right? And then, but the market is also limited. That made me to, think about, okay, for my next project, I want to build a product that can benefit a lot more people. And I realized that companies tend to hire globally at a very early stage. And if you want to build a really large business, you need to go global very, very early on. So that is very different than 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You start with one region and you expand. Companies tend to start globally since day one. So I saw that trend. I want to help every single company to be able to do so. So that's why I first built a payment platform that be able to support every single worker get paid from any company that they want in the world.
Amazing. So let's talk about kind of the systems that you built. So after you exited your first company, you started YC with your co-founder Alex, and it was very interesting that you actually pivoted 3 times in YC. And amidst all of the ideation, even up to demo day, you were still evolving the idea and the concept. at what point could you really figure out where the signal was instead of quitting and not knowing how to continue forward? And how do you really nail down on the idea?
So to answer this question, I want to give the audience a little bit context of YC. So YC is short for Y Combinator. It is an incubator based in San Francisco. A lot of amazing companies graduated from YC. For example, Airbnb, for example, Coinbase, DoorDash, and then Stripe. So at the time I got accepted to Y Combinator, I was very, very excited. I thought I made it because from a girl from a small city in China and then to selling motorcycles and scooters in Baltimore flea market to now get accepted to the best startup institution in the world. I thought I made it. But in the end, once I joined the Y Combinator, I realized that there are so many smart founders, so many smart people out there, and they're so ambitious. Everyone wants to solve a big problem. Everyone wants to build a product that the world wants to use, right? So then I had to start from zero and build the business, build the company Deel from zero, ground up. And we pivoted 3 times, but all of the 3 times are mainly is a process for us to find product market fit. We are first a crypto payment platform for content creators. And later on, we realized that crypto is not a popular market. Not a lot of people want to get paid in crypto. That's why we expanded to all payment methods, including fiat transfer, including wire transfer, and including be able to get paid on your digital wallet, right? And then we expanded and add more and more product on our platform. So today, after 7 years building Deel, we transformed from a single product payment platform to a HR, IT, finance, global payroll, which offers 10 different products today. Yeah.
So that's a great point, a great segue. You've often said, are we an HR company? Are we an IT company? Are we a payments company? And that you're actually in the business of trust. And in the process of building the company, I'm curious how you've kind of operationalized trust across the business to build very strong relationships with the customers.
That's a great point. I think trust is very important, especially in the world of AI, right? So a lot of things can be built automatically. A lot of content of our writings, speech, graphics, design can be automatically generated by AI agents these days, right? So the layer of trust is really building connections between human beings and then between everyone across the world. So trust is a layer that we should be building, and we should be connecting ourselves with our clients and our users. Especially I'm in payment and also cross-border money transaction business, right? So I need to build a lot of trust. I need to be compliant. I need to make sure that everyone that is on Deel platform will get paid, will get their salary on time every single time. So that is what we're aiming for. And in order to do that, it is actually very complicated. We build a lot of systems. We integrate with the largest banks across 160 different countries. Today on Deel, we have 450 bank accounts. We always have a backup. If bank A does not work in a specific country, we always have bank E, bank number 5 as a backup. Yeah.
And so we call this conversation the hidden systems behind the growth. You built the company to now 1.5 billion ARR. If you were to kind of distill it, how did you get there? It's a very large number. The company's grown really large. How did you if you kind of distill it into the one thing that really moved the needle, how did you get there?
I think one thing really helped us were moved the needle for us and made us the fastest growing software company is we're a global team. We're global since day one. As I mentioned earlier, I believe business today, if you want to build a big business, you need to think about global since day one, right? So Deel, we're not only a US company, even though we graduated from San Francisco YC, but we built a global team. And I was based in USA, my co-founder based in Paris, so we cover both regions. And also, we hired a team to cover all regions. Even though it is just one person, but still, at the time that we find a product market fit, it is very easy for us to grow. So we had the global mindset, global expansion since day one. I really believe that completely changed our culture. And then still today, we have a almost 20 people team locally in Athens. They are outside. So if you have some time today, please visit us. We have a booth out there. We have smoothies as well, so if you want. And on top of that, I think, again, what inspired me and my co-founder, Alex, is problem solving. We love problem solving. We're obsessed for finding solutions, building systems, and scale that process, right? So what we call at the Deel is a deal speed. That means we identify a problem, we develop solution, and we execute as fast as possible to solve this problem.
So I think that's a great segue into kind of people, and I think I read that you personally interviewed the first 500 employees. And you had a very unusual filter, which is that you want to hire happy people. Yeah. And I'm curious, one, how do you find out what a happy person is? And two, why was that an important filter when you're building a very operationally rigorous company?
So by hiring happy people, we have another culture at Deel, which is we call default optimism. That means you are always have the idea, and you always have the attitude that you will be able to solve the toughest problem that you encountered during your journey, regardless how hard that problem is, how big is that problem. People will get together and solve that problem. And then that is what we meant by default optimism. So in order to have that attitude, you need to be positive, you need to be happy, and then you need to be resilient. So those are the three things that we immediately identify during our hiring and interview process. I think as a happy person, you always can identify whether a person has good energy or not, a person is positive or not, right? So, and I think you just have this feeling. And once you have this feeling, and it is a lot of the times it can build a culture around your team. And then the managers or the hiring managers will be able to automatically identify. Sadly, I don't think that is something that AI can identify, yeah.
So we're sitting in Athens, and you started the company in San Francisco, but it's very much not a San Francisco traditional technology business because of where you started in building for global customers, and then you've built a previous company between Beijing and Switzerland. What would you tell the audience on you don't necessarily need to be in San Francisco? A lot of people are saying, oh, I need to move to Silicon Valley to start a company. And yeah, what would you tell kind of the local entrepreneurs and the ecosystem on building prolific businesses at home, still at a global scale, but that solve very hard problems?
I think the world is a very big space, okay? So just keep that in mind. There's so many people in the world. San Francisco is how many people? Like
800,000.
Oh, the 800,000, right? So compared to the rest of the world, it's just 0.1%, right? And then I think again, as a founder, you need to aim to a very large market, and then you need to solve a problem that you really care, and then can benefit the rest of the world, right? And then I think for example, payroll. People think payroll, especially global payroll, they never thought about the process, right? So it is very simple that you upload a number, your gross salary, you get paid, and you're happy about that. But you don't know how it is being calculated. whomever did the calculation is a black box, right? And then until you run into a lot of taxes, compliance issues by the end of the year, you never cared about those calculations. So what the Deel is building is that we want to provide transparency. We want to automate a lot of those processes. So let's say one country's payroll system is a black box, and then there are about 192 countries in the world. So that means we connected all of those 192 black box. And then we want to build a connected system, and we want to build this system to provide a really good analytics, and then to provide alignment to the world so that everyone can get paid with a really good understanding. Yeah.
Amazing. And then kind of in the conclusion of where's Deel going next? I know that you're a very fierce person. You're a huge competitor, and I know that you still have very much a beginner's mindset. What is the next 10x growth curve for Deel? It might be a big company today, but I know that you're thinking about a much larger vision and a much larger scale.
This is a great question. I actually started to think about what are some other products that we can build on top of the platform, right? So again, Deel's mission is that we want talent and the workers to get paid from whichever country and then be able to work for whichever company that they want to regardless of location. With that mission, we want to continuously build Deel as a platform that includes payments infrastructure, includes compliance infrastructure, and then be able to automatically help you to understand local labor laws and the local benefits, right? Combine all of those. Each one of them is a very big theme, right? And then today, we're only at the payroll calculation part. So the next step is how do we digitize localized labor law? How do we digitize localized compliance, and then build a fully automated system, and then be able to benefit the world even more? That is where we're heading next. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you for all the insights. I love that you still have a very fierce mindset, and it's amazing that you have a team in Greece and that you are still expanding so quickly. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And then one last thought is that always be beginner's mindset, always be an underdog mindset. I think that is what we're living for. Yeah. Thank you.